Nick Aldis resigned from WWE after Gunther defeated him at SummerSlam. What happens when the authority figure stops pointing fingers, unbuttons the suit jacket, and decides to throw hands with the single most terrifying human being in professional wrestling? You get absolute, unfiltered, pure wrestling drama. At SummerSlam, SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis did what very few executives in history have had the guts to do. He stepped out from behind his mahogany desk, laced up the boots for his first WWE match, and went toe-to-toe with the ring general himself, Gunther. But the real shockwave didn't just happen inside the ropes, it exploded backstage right after the bell rang. Welcome to Wrestling Rush News. Before we break down the madness, the chops, and the shocking paperwork, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notifications bell icon. It keeps you locked into every major WWE update the second it drops, and trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. Now, to truly understand how we got to the point of a sitting general manager trading blows with a generational destroyer, we have to look at how this pressure cooker blew its lid in the first place. For months, Gunther had been treating the SmackDown roster like his personal punching bag, complaining about his championship opportunities and blaming Nick Aldis for every setback. It was the classic unstoppable force meets an unyielding immovable wall scenario. Most general managers would have simply suspended the guy, fined him a few $1,000s, or sent security out to get annihilated. But Nick Aldis isn't your typical suit anti-executive. Before he was making matches, he was holding world championships across the globe. The tension reached an absolute fever pitch when personal insults were tossed around, tempers completely boiled over, and Aldis made a decision that left the entire WWE universe rubbing their eyes in disbelief. He agreed to step back into the ring after 3 full years away. Which brings us to the moment the arena lights dimmed and the SummerSlam crowd in Minneapolis lost their collective minds. How does a man who has spent the last 3 years in boardrooms handle 30,000 fans screaming his name while facing the most lethal striker in modern wrestling? When Nick Aldis walked down that aisle, he didn't look like a guy who spends his afternoons checking spreadsheets and approving multi-tag team matches. He looked like he was carved out of solid marble. But looking the part and surviving Gunther are two entirely different beasts. The bell rang, and from the opening second, this wasn't a standard wrestling match, it was a physical war of attrition. Gunther did what Gunther does best, turning Aldis' chest into a bright red shade of raw steak with chops that echoed all the way to the cheap seats. Yet, Aldis refused to back down. He met power with power, blasting Gunther with heavy right hands, a massive suplex off the top turnbuckle, and even locking in his signature submission. For a second, the impossible felt like it was happening. The crowd was chanting, "You still got it," louder than a jet engine. But Gunther is a machine. He weathered the storm, hit a devastating powerbomb, and locked in that lethal sleeper hold until Aldis had no choice but to tap out. Aldis lost the match, but he earned every drop of respect in that stadium, celebrating an emotional return with his wife Mickie James and their son right there in the ring. But if you thought the story ended when the bell chimed, hold onto your seats, because the Real bomb was dropped behind closed doors. Shortly after the match, backstage during an interview with Kathy Kelly, Nick Aldis stood there physically battered, exhausted, and holding a piece of paper. Enter Triple H. Aldis looked the game dead in the eye and delivered a speech that left everyone stunned. He stated that he had poured his heart and soul into being the general manager of SmackDown for 3 years, but as a man of his word, stepping in the ring required him to surrender his power. He handed Triple H an official, signed letter of resignation, effectively quitting his position as general manager right then and there. Imagine pouring your entire life into the biggest job of your career, coming up short in a fight, and voluntarily walking away from the executive suite because of your honor. It was a dramatic, mic drop moment that sent shockwaves across social media. But how did Chief Content Officer Triple H react to his general manager handing in his resignation notice? Triple H looked at the resignation letter, looked at Aldis, and did the most Triple H thing imaginable. He took the paper and ripped it into tiny shreds right in front of the camera. Triple H told Aldis that both he and Gunther crossed lines, but Aldis fought for what he believed in, proved his point, and stood tall. With a grin, the game told him point blank, "You are reinstated as general manager of SmackDown. Now lay off Gunther, call things down the middle, and let us get back to work." Just like that, the resignation was completely rejected, and Aldis was thrust right back into power. So, where does this leave WWE and the future of SmackDown moving forward? Nick Aldis proved two huge things at SummerSlam. First, he is still an absolute force inside the ring who can go toe-to-toe with the absolute best in the business on a global stage. Every superstar in that locker room now knows that the guy giving orders isn't just a corporate figurehead in an expensive suit, he is a battle-tested warrior who will lace up the boots and settle business in the middle of the ring if you push him too far. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling Rush News. Good day, and we will see you next time.